മാത്രമല്ല നമ്മുടെ ഈ സെഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് 1 hour സെഷൻ ആയിരിക്കും. അതിൽ നമ്മൾ സ്പ്ലിറ്റ് ചെയ്ത് വെച്ചേക്കുന്ന വെച്ചാൽ 2 ലെക്ചറിങ് സെഷൻസ് ആണ്. 20 minutes ഈച്ച് വരുന്ന 2 ലെക്ചറിങ് സെഷൻസ് കാണും. അതായത് ആദ്യം 20 മിനിറ്റ് ലെക്ചറിങ് കഴിഞ്ഞതിന് ശേഷം ഒരു 10 മിനിറ്റ് Q&A കാണും. റിലവന്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ഉണ്ടെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ ആ Q&Aയിലോട്ട് പോകും. ഇല്ലാണെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ സെഷൻ കണ്ടിന്യൂ ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഫൈനലി വരുന്ന ഒരു 10 മിനിറ്റ്സും കൂടെ ഒരു Q&A സെഷൻ കാണും. ഇതാണ് നമ്മുടെ ഫോർമാറ്റ് വരുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ സ്റ്റുഡൻസിന് ആക്ച്വലി Q&A എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു ബട്ടൺ താഴെ കാണും. നിങ്ങളുടെ വിൻഡോന്റെ താഴെ Q&A ബട്ടൺ കാണും. അത് യൂസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടാണ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് പോസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് നമുക്ക്. അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ ഒരു സെഷൻ ഇടയിൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു 2 പ്രാവശ്യം ഒരു പോളിംഗ് ഓപ്ഷൻ വരും. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് വോട്ട് ചെയ്യാം. ലൈക്ക് ഈ സെഷനെ കുറിച്ചുള്ള ഒരു ഫീഡ്ബാക്ക് ആയിട്ടാണ് അത് വരുന്നത്. നിങ്ങൾ ആ പോളിംഗ് വിൻഡോയിൽ ശ്രദ്ധിച്ചിരിക്കുക. അതിൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഇപ്പൊ സെഷനെ കുറിച്ചുള്ള ഫീഡ്ബാക്ക് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അതിൽ രേഖപ്പെടുത്താൻ പറ്റുന്നത്. ഇന്നത്തെ സെഷന് ആസ് യൂഷ്വൽ വി ഹാവ് വിത്ത് us a very experienced faculty. He's also collaborated with ASAP before for one other session as well. He's currently working as an assistant professor in the computer science engineering department at LBS Institute of Technology for Women, Pujapura, Trivandrum. Sir, he has got over 7 years of teaching experience. Sir, വളരെ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ്ഡ് ആയിട്ട് ഫാക്കൽറ്റി ആണ്. സാറിന് ഈ സെഷനിലോട്ടേക്ക് ഞാൻ ചെയ്യുന്നു. Professor Narasimhan, sir. So welcome to and session is all yours. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So welcome back to this lecture on second lecture on compiler design. So in the last lecture we discussed about the basics of LR parsing. What is LR parsing? What is the parsing model? We saw the parsing algorithm, and we also discussed how an input stream is processed with the help of a parsing table. So obviously now you will ask, okay, now you know how to parse an input string with the help of parsing table. So now the obvious question will be what? How to build the parsing table? Okay, how to construct the parsing table that you might ask. So actually there are multiple methods to construct this parsing table. But whatever be the method, the way the input string is processed by the parser remains the same. For all the methods, the way the input string is processed remains the same. That is why I discussed the last class the processing of the input string. And today and the upcoming lectures, we will discuss how the parsing table is really constructed if you are given the grammar. So before moving to the methods of
സർ കാർത്തികാണ്. സർ ജസ്റ്റ് വോളിയം കുറച്ചും കൂടെ ഒന്ന് കൂട്ടിയാൽ കൊള്ളായിരിക്കും സർ. മൈക്ക് ഒന്നും കൂടെ ഒന്ന് പിടിച്ചാൽ.
Now fine?
Now it's much better, sir. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Okay. So before going to the way we are going to construct the parsing tables, we will just look at the concept of LR grammars. What do you mean by LR grammars? So informally, you can define LR grammars like this. A grammar will be called as LR grammar if it is possible to construct an LR parsing table. That is, if you are given a grammar, if you are able to construct an LR parsing table, it will be called an LR grammar. That is how you define the LR grammar at a very informal level. In order for a grammar to be qualified as LR grammar, it is sufficient that the shift reduce parser should be able to recognize handles when they appear on the stack top. Okay? Remember the main idea behind the shift reduce parsing is identifying the handles, and when the handles are found at the stack top, they will be reduced to the corresponding left hand side of the production, right? That is what we saw last day. So in order for a grammar to be LR, called as LR, the shift reduce parser should be able to recognize handles when they appear on the stack top. Now the parser need not scan the entire stack to know whether the handle is at the top or not. Okay? It need not scan the entire stack. What it can do is it can just rely on the state information. Remember, the stack will be containing grammar symbols as well as state symbols. So the parser can just rely on the top state symbol to know whether the handle is at the top or not. Okay? That is what it means. Some parsers can detect handles with just the top state symbol without any extra information. That is, by just relying on the top state information, it can know whether the handles are at the top or not. But some other parsers, in addition to the state information, they also use look-ahead symbols. We already seen what are look-ahead symbols. In addition to the state information, some parsers also do use the look-ahead symbols for determining what are the handles and whether the handles have come at the top of the stack. So having seen this, now let us formally define what an LR grammar is. It can is a grammar that can be parsed by an LR parser examining up to k input symbols on each move is called an LRK grammar. Okay? You have a grammar. If it is possible to parse that grammar by an LR parser, and in each step of the parsing process, the parser is allowed to examine only up to k input symbols. If such situation is possible, now you call that grammar as LRK grammar. As usual, k denotes a number of look-ahead symbols. So having seen this, now let us move to some foundational concepts that will be useful for constructing the parsing tables. As I told earlier, there are multiple methods to construct LR parsing tables, but your syllabus prescribes only 3 methods. The first one is known as SLR, which is the short form of simple LR. Second one is CLR or canonical LR. Third one is look-ahead LR, or in short, it is known as LALR. Okay, these are the 3 methods that we are going to discuss in the upcoming sessions on how to construct an LR parsing table. So whatever be the method, the skeletal process of the table construction remains the same. Okay? All the 3 methods adopt 3 steps or follow 3 steps to construct the LR parsing table. And those 3 steps are shown on the screen, you can view. The first step is you are going to construct what you call as a canonical collection of LR items. We will discuss what the canonical collection is soon. So the first step is to construct a canonical collection of LR items. Once the canonical collection is constructed, you are going to construct from the items a finite state automaton. Okay? The second step is the construction of a finite state automaton using the LR items. Finally, the third step, the constructed automaton will be translated to the parsing table. These are the 3 steps. First step, you construct the canonical collection of LR items. Second step, you construct a finite automaton from the LR items. Finally, in the third step, you will be translating the automaton to the parsing table. So let us see what these items are. So if you remember the last day when we discussed the example, we saw that when the handle occurs at the top of the stack, reduction takes place. Okay, let me take you back to that portion. So here, if you just neglect the state symbols, here you find that the ID is at the top. Okay? So the ID happens to be a handle. So you reduce using the production F gives ID. Similarly, here also, if you neglect the state symbols, you find that the grammar symbols in the stack are T star and F. T star F are the symbols that occur on the stack if you neglect the state symbols at the step number 7. There also the T star F happens to be a handle. It is at the top of the stack, so you reduce using the production T gives T star F. That means when the handle occurs at the top of the stack, you go for reduction. One important point that you should note here is the rightmost symbol of the handle will be always at the top of the stack. See here T star F is the handle, right? So if you look at the symbols T star and F in the stack, you find that the rightmost symbol is F. The rightmost symbol F is at the top of the stack. Again, I'm neglecting the state symbols. Now let us take step number 13. Here also E plus T is the handle. So the symbol E is here, plus is here, T is here. So among these 3 symbols, the rightmost symbol T, okay, T is at the top of the stack. That means when the handle is at the top of the stack, you can go for reduction. Not only that, the rightmost symbol of the handle will be at the top position. Okay? That is what this means. So that means instead of knowing whether the handle is at the top of the stack, what you can equivalently do is you can check for the positions in the right hand side of the production. Remember that handle is nothing but is the right hand side of some production, right? Handle is nothing but the right hand side of some production, which will be reduced to the corresponding left hand side. The handle should match the right hand side of some production. That is what we saw in the last class. So instead of peeping into the stack and checking whether the handle is at the top or not, what you can probably do is you can look at the positions of the right hand side of productions. Okay? You can look at the positions in the right hand side of the productions, and if you reach the right end of a production, if you reach the rightmost position of right hand side of production, that means there is a possibility that the handle could be at the top. That is what this states. Okay? A shift reduce parser can then determine the actions based on the positions in the right hand side of the productions. If you find that you have reached the rightmost position of the right hand side, that is, you have reached the right end of the right hand side of the production, that means there is a possibility that the handle could be at the top of the stack. Okay? So you should be able to you should watch out for the various positions in the right hand side. So to keep track of those positions in the right hand side of productions, we will use a mechanism called LRK items. So these LRK items are nothing but it is a mechanism to let us know about the various positions in the right hand side of a production. And when you reach the rightmost end of the right hand side of a production, it means that possibly the handle could be at the top of the stack and you can go for the reduction operation. Okay? So for example, T star F was a handle earlier. So T star F, if you reach the end of the right hand side, right? What is the end of the right hand side? The symbol F. So if you reach that symbol, it means that you have reached the end of the handle. So probably the handle could be at the top of the stack and you can go for the reduction operation. That is what this particular statement means. So you can just watch out for the various positions in the right hand side of productions. And when you find that you have reached the end of the right end of the production's right hand side, probably you can go for the reduction operation, provided the handle is at the top of the stack. And for maintaining the positions in the right hand side, we will be using the concept of LRK items. As usual, the K is a number of look-ahead symbols, and K could be 0 or 1. If it is 0, we call it as LRK item. If it is 1, we call it as LR1 items. And as I told earlier, we have three methods of table construction: SLR, CLR, and LALR. The SLR method uses the LR0 items, whereas the other two methods use the LR1 items. That is all about the first step. You go for constructing the LR items. We'll discuss in detail in the next class how to construct those items. So as of now, just take like this. The first step is construction of the LR items. The second step is nothing but from the LR items, you construct an automaton, a finite state automaton. Tell me.
Sir, actually, ഒരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ സ്ക്രീൻ നേരത്തെ കാണിച്ചില്ലായിരുന്നു സാർ. അതൊന്നും കൂടെ ഒന്ന് കാണിക്കണമെന്ന് കുറച്ച് സ്റ്റുഡൻസ് ചോദിക്കുന്നു. ആ ഒരു പാർസിംഗ് ടേബിളിന്റെ ഒരു സ്ക്രീൻ കാണിച്ചു. ഇതൊന്നും കൂടെ ഒന്ന് കാണിക്കുമെന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു. സാർ തൊട്ട് മുന്നേ പറഞ്ഞൊരു പോയിന്റ് മാത്രം ഇടയ്ക്കൊന്ന് ഓഡിയോ കുറച്ച് ബ്രേക്ക് ആയി. സാർ ആ ഒരു പോയിന്റ് ഒന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നന്നായി. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So in step number 7, you find that T star F is the handle, right? So there are three symbols in the handle, T, star, and F. So if you look at the stack, if you neglect the state symbols, you consider only the three symbols, T, star, and F. T is here, star is here, F is here. So the rightmost symbol of the handle, which is F, is at the top of the stack. Again, I am neglecting the state symbols. Similarly, here also, ID is the handle. So there is only one symbol. That symbol is at the top of the stack. Here, E plus T is the handle. Rightmost symbol is T. So the symbol T is at the top of the stack. That is what I told. when the rightmost symbol of the handle occurs at the top of the stack, then it could be possibly the time for performing the reduction action. Okay? It is a time for performing reduction action. So what you can probably do is, instead of just always looking at the stack whether the handles have come at the top or not, what you can do is you can just look at the right hand side of the productions. You can look at the right hand side of the productions. So this is the production E gives E plus T. You just watch out for the productions in the right hand side. If you find that you have reached the right, so for example, if you consider this production E gives E plus T, how many positions you have? One position to the left of E, one position between E and plus, one position between plus and T, one position to the right of T. Okay, so you have this much positions in the right hand side of this particular production. And when you reach the right most end of the right hand side of the production, that is when you reach this particular position, the position to the right of T, when you reach this particular position, what it means that you have reached the end of the production. That means the handle could be at the top of the stack, and you can probably go for reduction. Okay, so instead of just looking at the stack and determining whether the handle is at the top or not, you can watch out for the positions in the right hand side of productions. And when you find that you reach the right end of the right hand side of the production, probably that is the time to go for the reduction operation. That is what I told earlier. Hope this is clear now. So to keep track of the positions in the right hand side of a production, you will be using the concept of LR items. Okay, don't worry, we will see in detail what these items are soon today itself. But just as an introductory way, I'm just telling this. So LR0 items are used in SLR method, and the other two methods employ LR1 items. Once the LR items are constructed, you are going to construct an automaton, a finite state machine, which is known as characteristic finite state machine. Okay? The automaton will be known as characteristic finite state machine. It will be abbreviated as CFSM. Later, this CFSM is translated to the parsing table. Let us see what is the role of this CFSM. Okay. So the CFSM, its duty is to maintain information about the parsing stack and also the progress of the ship-reduced parsing. How much portion of the parsing process you have completed. So that information, along with the contents of the stack, the status of the stack is also maintained. These two pieces of information are maintained by the CFSM. The main role of CFSM is to recognize all the viable prefixes of a given grammar. Okay? The main role of the CFSM is to recognize all the viable prefixes of a given grammar. So you are seeing a new term, a viable prefix. Let us see what this viable prefix is. So to discuss what a viable prefix is, let us take an example. You are having a grammar with the productions E gives E plus E, or E star E, or parenthesized E, or ID. Okay? You have 4 productions like this. Let us try to derive the string ID1 plus ID2 star ID3. Okay? ID1 plus ID2 star ID3. Let us try to derive this string using the production tools. So since we are talking about bottom-up parsers, we will be using the rightmost derivation in reverse, right? So let us try to write the rightmost derivation for this particular string. So you start with the start symbol E, you replace this E with E plus E, you get E plus E. Now you replace this rightmost E with E star E, so this will become E plus E star E. Now you replace this rightmost E with ID3, so this will become E plus E star ID3. Remember, all these steps are known as sentential forms, typically right sentential forms, because we are using rightmost derivation here. So these are all right sentential forms. So now this is the rightmost E, you replace that with ID2. This is rightmost E now, replace that with ID1. So finally you end up with the input string ID1 plus ID2 star ID3. So this is the rightmost derivation of the input string ID1 plus ID2 star ID3. The productions used here are listed. This particular table you might have already learned when you have learned about the shift reduced parsing in your college. Okay? So I'm not going to spend much of the time here. We'll just rush through this table because already it might have been covered in your college. So let me quickly go through the steps of this table. So you start with the stack. Uh, this is the input. So initially the stack will just have the dollar. The input will be appended with a dollar that will be stored in the input buffer. So the first action is a shift action. You shift ID1 into the stack. Okay. You find that ID1 is a handle. So you reduce using the production E gives ID. So ID1 is reduced to E. Now you perform a shift operation. So plus will be shifted. Again you perform a shift operation. ID2 will be shifted. Now ID2 happens to be a handle. You reduce using the production E gives ID. You giving E plus E in the stack. Now you shift star. So this will be E plus E star. Now you again shift perform a shift operation. So you'll be getting ID3 in the stack top. So this will be a E plus E star ID3. ID3 happens to be a handle. So you perform reduction operation using E gives ID. So this that will give you the string E plus E star E. Now E star E happens to be a handle. You reduce using the production E gives E star E. So this will become E here. So you have E plus E. Again, E plus E as a whole is now a handle. You reduce using E gives E plus E. That will be reduced to E. So now you just have the uh, start symbol in the stack and the input buffer is empty. So that means you reach the end of the parsing process. You can declare that the string is valid. You can just accept the string. Okay. So this you might have already seen during your classes on shift reduce parsing. Okay. Now, one interesting point that you can observe here is whatever strings you have on the stack, okay, ID1, E, E plus ID2, E plus E, etc. Whatever strings uh, you have on the stack, they are just nothing but they're a prefix of some right sentential form. Okay? So you will know that the stack content is always a prefix of some right sentential form. Okay. Let us verify whether that is correct or not. Let me take this E plus, right? The fourth step, the stack content is E plus. Let us move back. So E plus is a prefix of this particular production, this particular right sentential form E plus E is also a prefix of these sentential forms also. Okay. Let us take another example, E plus E star. E plus E star. We find that E plus E star is a prefix of this particular right sentential form, also a prefix of this particular right sentential form. Maybe E plus E star E. You have the sentential form E plus E star E. Remember that every string is a prefix of itself. If you have a string ABC, ABC itself is a prefix of ABC. Okay? Remember that concept here. So E plus E star E itself happens to be a prefix of this particular right sentential form. So you have that prefix here. Similarly, E plus ID2. Okay? E plus ID2 is a prefix of this particular right sentential form. So this means that the stack content will be always a prefix of some right sentential form. Okay? Hope that is clear now. Out of curiosity, you may ask whether all prefixes of right sentential form can become the stack content. Okay? So what we saw is the stack content is always a prefix of some right sentential form. Now the question is whether all the prefixes of a right sentential form can become the stack content. Okay? It turns out that the answer is a big no. Okay? Not every prefix of a right sentential form can appear on the stack. For example, you take this particular right sentential form, E plus ID2 star ID3. You find that you have a prefix for this form, E plus ID2 star. Okay? E plus ID2 star is a prefix of this particular right sentential form. And you find that that particular prefix never occurs in the stack. Never occurs in the stack. Why? Because whenever you see this ID2, ID2 is a handle, so it will be reduced before shifting the star. Remember, you had ID2 here, is reduced to E, before shifting this star. So that means this prefix E plus ID2 star will never occur in the stack. That means only certain prefixes of sentential forms will occur in the stack. Okay? Only certain prefixes of right sentential forms will occur in the stack. So those prefixes of right sentential forms that can appear on the stack of a shift reduce parser are called viable prefixes. Okay? That is how you informally define. Viable prefixes are those prefixes of right sentential forms that can appear on the stack of a shift reduced parser. More formally, it could be defined like this. Okay? A viable prefix is that prefix of a right sentential form which does not contain any symbol to the right end of the handle of the sentential form. Okay? So you have a sentential form. Your viable prefix is a prefix of that sentential form. That sentential form could have a handle. Viable prefix is that prefix that do not contain any symbol to the right of the handle of that particular sentential form. That means viable prefix does not extend beyond the handle. Yeah, a viable prefix will not extend beyond the handle. Let me take some examples and clarify this concept of viable prefixes. So we have already seen the rightmost derivation of this particular string. These are the various right sentential forms. So since we are talking about bottom-up parser, since bottom-up parser uses rightmost derivation in reverse, let us consider these right sentential forms in the reverse order. We will start with this right sentential form, move to this right sentential form, then take this, finally to the start symbol E. Okay, so we are going to consider the right sentential forms in the reverse order. Let me do that. So which is the first right sentential form? ID1 plus ID2 star ID3. Okay. So there, which is the in that right sentential form, which is the handle ID1, right? Remember, this is the right sentential form. If you move upwards from this step to this step, how did what did you do? This particular E was replaced by ID1. That means from this particular step, from the last step, to move to the second last step, what you need to do? You need to reduce ID1 to E. Similarly, to move from this second last step to the third last step, what you need to do? To reduce ID2 to E. Okay? So in this way, you can move upwards and you can find handles like this. Here it is ID1 is the handle, here ID2 is the handle. Likewise, it moves on. So ID1 plus ID2 star ID3 is the first sentential form. ID1 is the handle. Okay. Now what's a viable prefix? What did I tell? Viable prefix is a prefix of right sentential form such that it doesn't go beyond the handle. So for this particular right sentential form, which are the prefixes? ID1 is one prefix, ID1 plus one prefix, ID1 plus ID2 another prefix, ID1 plus ID2 star another prefix. Likewise, you can have many prefixes for this right sentential form. Now, what is the problem? Viable prefix should not go beyond the handle. So which is the handle here? ID1. So the prefix ID1 is the viable prefix. You cannot consider ID1 plus as a viable prefix because in that prefix you have a symbol to the right of the handle, which is handle here ID1. You have a symbol plus to the right of ID1 that cannot be considered. Okay, that is what is written here. Viable prefix cannot extend beyond the handle. Okay. Let me take another example, which is the next sentential form E plus ID2 star ID3, okay, which is a handle here ID2. So which will be the which are the viable prefixes? You can have E plus ID2. Now you cannot have viable prefix as E plus ID2 star. Why? Because if you take star, star is beyond this ID2, which is the handle. Okay, so you cannot have a symbol to the right side of the handle, the viable prefix. So you should stop with E plus ID2. Viable prefix cannot go beyond the handle. Now the third one, E plus E star ID3, which is the handle here ID3. So what will be the prefix? What are the viable prefixes here? E, E plus E plus E, E plus E star, and E plus E star ID3. Okay. Now for this right sentential form, E plus E star E, which is the handle E star E, right? So what are the viable prefixes here? E, E plus E, E plus E star and E plus E star E. The form itself, right sentential form itself is a prefix. Now this one, E plus E, which is the handle here. E plus E is the handle. So what are the prefixes here? E, E plus, and E plus. Fine. Now the right sentential form is the start symbol E. Do you have any handle here? No. That means there is no viable prefix for this particular right sentential form. Okay. So viable prefix is nothing but it is a prefix of the right sentential form such that it doesn't go beyond the handle. Doesn't go beyond the handle. These are some examples of viable prefixes. So hope this makes the concept clear. So now, why should you learn about viable prefix here? What is the purpose of viable, or why should you take the headache of learning about viable prefix when you are learning about the parsing technique in LR parsers? So you find that the viable prefix contains at most one handle. That means either it will have no handle or it will have exactly one handle. Okay? At most one handle will be found in a viable prefix. Either the viable prefix will have no handle or it will have exactly one handle. Not only that, the handle will be always at the right end of the viable prefix. Okay? Let me again clarify. Let me take here. So here E is a viable prefix. There is no handle here. Here E plus is a viable prefix. There is no handle here. Here E plus ID2 is a viable prefix. Okay, remember, viable prefixes are those which can be found in the stack. Remember, so these are all viable prefixes. So here E plus ID2 is a viable prefix, but there is a handle here ID2, and where is ID2 is at the rightmost end, right? So in the viable prefix, the handle either there will be no handle as here in these two cases, or there is a handle. There will be one. There will be only one handle, and that too the handle will be at the rightmost end. So E plus ID2. Similarly, E plus E, there is no handle. E plus E star, there is no handle. Again, E plus E star ID3. You have a handle ID3, which is at the end. Similarly, here, E plus E star E, which is a handle here, E star E. E star E occurs at the right end of the viable prefix. So, viable prefix will contain 0 or exactly one handle. And if it has got a handle, that will be at the right end of the viable prefix. Now, one point that you can note here is when you find that there are no handles for a viable, there are no handles in a viable prefix, there are no handles in a viable prefix, what you can do is you can shift terminal symbols into the stack and possibly wait for getting a handle. Okay. For example, here you consider step number 3, okay, which is the stack content E. So E happens to be a viable prefix. So do you have any handle here? No, right? So what did you do? You perform a shift operation. You shifted plus into the stack. So now the stack content is E plus. That means the next viable prefix is E plus. Do you have a handle in E plus? No, you don't have any handle E plus. That means what? Again, you can go for the shift operation. You try to shift a symbol from the input. So ID2 will be shifted. Now what's the viable prefix? E plus ID2. Now find that you have a handle ID2 which is at the right hand. So what you can do? You can reduce that handle to the left hand side. You will get another prefix. Okay. That is what is said here. When you find that there are no handles in the viable prefix, you can possibly add terminal symbols from the input to the right end of the viable prefix to obtain a handle. So once you have obtained a handle, it could be reduced, right? So you can have a series of operations like this, which will ultimately get you to the start symbol of the grammar. That means what your parsing process is over. So that means this technique can be used to validate whether the portion of the string that you have read so far is valid or not. Okay? You can check whether you can validate the portion of the string read so far. You can check whether that portion read so far is valid or not. What you can do, if you are able to reduce the portion of the input string read so far to a viable prefix. Okay, you have read some symbols of the input string. That much portion of the input string, if you are able to reduce that much portion to some viable prefix, okay, some viable prefix, it means that there is no error. There is no error. You can safely proceed with the parsing process. Okay, so that is the importance of viable prefix in the LR parsing technique. So as I told earlier, the CFSM will recognize the viable prefixes of the grammar. The CFSM will recognize the viable prefixes of the grammar. So that means since the CFSM recognizes the viable prefixes, it can be used to guide the handle selection. Which handle should you select? That selection can be done with the help of the CFSM. In a way, it will also help in the parsing decision, because once you find the handle, you're going to reduce, and finally it will lead you to the start symbol. So the parsing decision can also be done accordingly. So the CFSM plays a vital role in taking the parsing decision, whether to shift or reduce. So seeing all this basics, we'll start with the first method of table construction, that is SLR parsing. Okay. As I told earlier, there are three methods: SLR, CLR, and LALR. Of the three, the SLR is the easiest method to construct a parsing table. Although it is easy, it turns out that this SLR method will work only for a small set of grammars. Only for small set of grammars will be able to construct parsing tables using the SLR method. But since it is very easy to construct, we will use it as a starting point, and later on we will build the other concepts over and above this simple SLR method. The parsing table constructed using this SLR method are known as SLR parsing table, and SLR grammar is one for which you can construct a SLR parsing table. This SLR method begins with an augmented grammar and produces a canonical collection of LR0 items, which is used to construct the CFSM. Okay. This is how it is done. The SLR method starts with an augmented grammar and produces a canonical collection of LR0 item sets, which is then used to construct the CFSM, which will be later translated to the parse table. So here you are seeing some new terms: augmented grammar, canonical collection, etc. So we'll see what are those terms one by one. So first we will see what do you mean by an LR0 item. Remember, as I told earlier, the LR items are used to keep track of the positions in the right-hand side of a production. Okay, let us see what it means. An LR0 item, it is also shortly known as item. Okay, simply item is a production of a grammar G with a dot at some position in the body. Remember, if you have a production like A gives beta, A is known as head of the production and beta is known as the body of the production. Left hand side will be known as head, right hand side will be known as body. Okay? So an LR0 item is nothing but it is a production with a dot at some position in the production body. At right hand side, RHS. So let me take an example. If you have a production like A gives XYZ, how many positions you have here? The right hand side of XY and the right hand side of the production, 4 positions, right? One to the left of X, second between X and Y, third between Y and Z, fourth to the right of Z. So you have 4 positions. Okay? So accordingly, you can have 4 items. A gives dot XYZ, A gives X dot YZ, A gives XY dot Z, and A gives XY Z dot. You have 4 positions right hand side. So correspondingly, we can have 4 items. Every position will be denoted by a dot symbol. So what about the production? A gives the empty string epsilon. Will just have one production, one item. A gives dot. A gives. Now this dot. What is the purpose of having dot? This dot is actually maybe you can for analogy you can take it as equivalent to suppose you have a Microsoft Word document being opened and you are typing something. Okay? So you will be having a cursor somewhere in the document, right? So what is the purpose of the cursor? To the left of the cursor, you have typed various symbols. To the right of the cursor, you are yet to type, right? So to the left, so what we can tell is to the left of the mouse pointer or to the left of the cursor, we have finished the processing. To the right of the cursor, we are yet to do the processing. Okay? Same way also you can take the dot. Okay? The dot will help you to recognize the intermediate steps in the right hand side of the production. How to recognize the right hand side of the production. It indicates how much of a production you have seen at a given particular you have seen at a given point in the parsing process. How much of a production you have seen at a given point in the parsing process. For example, you have A gives dot xy. A gives dot is at the left end, right? So that means you have not seen anything. You are going to, or you are expecting a spring which is derivable from the uh, sequence xyz. Okay, you are having a dot at the left end. It means that you are expecting a spring derivable from xyz. Now, what does this mean? A gives x dot yz. What does this mean? Dot is here. To the left, you have x. To the right, you have yz. That means what? You have finished the processing x. You're going to process yz. That means what? You have already seen a string derivable from x. Next, you are expecting to see a string derivable from yz on the input. Similarly, what does A gives xyz dot mean? You already finished string derivable from the sequence xyz. That means what? You have that means it is possibly the time to reduce, because you have reached the right end of the here dot is at the right end of the production, right? That means what? You have reached the end of the right hand side of the production. That means it could be possibly the time for producing a possibly the time for doing a reduction operation. Okay? So the rightmost symbol, so this XYZ could be a handle. Rightmost symbol Z could be at the stack of the top of the stack, and you can possibly reduce XYZ to. So this is a concept of LR0 items. So this LR0, so you will be having various productions in the grammar.
സർ സോറി ടു ഇന്ററപ്റ്റ് സർ. ഇടയ്ക്ക് ലാസ്റ്റ് പറഞ്ഞ ആ ഒരു പോർഷൻ ജസ്റ്റ് ഓഡിയോ ഒന്ന് ബ്രേക്ക് ആയി പോയി സർ. സർ അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഇപ്പം 1:00 ആവുന്നു സർ. നമുക്കൊരു അടുത്തൊരു 5-10 മിനിറ്റ്സിനകത്ത് നമുക്കൊന്ന് വേണമെങ്കിൽ പോകാം.
I will wind up in 5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, so I will repeat this portion. So as I told earlier, the dot indicates how much of the production we have seen at a given point in the parsing process, right? So here, consider this item. A gives dot xyz. A gives dot xyz. So this means that the dot is at the left end. So you have not seen anything on the input. Or in other words, what you can see is you are going to expect, or you are expecting a string derivable from the sequence xyz on the input. Take another item. A gives x dot yz. What does that mean? X is to the left of the dot. Yz is to the left of. Yz is to the right of the dot. That means you have finished processing of x. Going to process yz. That means you have finished seeing a string derivable from x. Next, you are expecting a string which is derivable from the sequence. Similarly, when the dot is at the right hand side, it means that it is a time for reducing, because I told when you reach the rightmost end of the right hand side of the production, it is time for reduction. So when the dot is the right end, it means that you reach the rightmost position of the right hand side of a production. That means you can go for the reduction operation. These LR0 items can be grouped together to form sets, which are known as configuration set or item sets. Okay? The LR0 items together to form configuration sets, and these configuration sets will form the states of the CFSM that we saw earlier. Okay? The states of the CFSM will correspond to the configuration sets. Now, as a finite state machine, the CFSM should have a start state, right? So which state should be made the start state, or which configuration set should be made the start state? So that configuration set should be made the start state, which corresponds to the initial state of the parser. What is the initial state of the parser? The stack is empty. You are just going to start the parsing process. You are just going to recognize a string derivable from the start symbol. Okay? So that configuration set should be made the start state. That means the item set which contains the item of the form S gives dot alpha. What is S? Start symbol. alpha is some sequence of grammar symbols. It is a mixture of non-terminals and terminals. So dot is at the left hand side means what? You are going to start the parsing process. This is the start symbol, right? So you are going to just start with the parsing process. Such a production, whichever item set has got such a production, such a item in it, that item set should be made the start state. So unfortunately, you could have multiple productions like this. Okay? Earlier also we saw E gives E plus T. Sorry, E gives E plus E. E gives E star E. Okay? So you can have multiple such productions. So among those productions, which one will you choose for the start state? There's some confusion here. There's an ambiguity here. So what you can probably do is you can go for the concept of augmented grammar. Augmented grammar. So augmented grammar is nothing but to the grammar given to you, you just add a new production S dash giving S, where S dash is the new start symbol and S is the start symbol of the existing grammar. Okay? S dash is a new start symbol. You add a new production rule S dash giving S. This is known as the new starting production. And the item set containing S dash giving dot S will be made the initial state. Why? Because dot S means you are yet to read the symbol, start symbol S. That means you are yet to read the start symbol S means you are yet to read the input string derivable from the start symbol. So this could be made the start symbol. This could be made the start state. So the as I told you, in the augmented grammar, you just add a new production S dash giving S. What is the purpose of doing like this? It turns out that this production will aid us in deciding when you should stop the parsing process. Okay? That means you should accept the input string. The input string will be accepted only when you are going to reduce by the production S dash giving S. Okay? So in the reduction process, you will be using various productions, right? So when you are reducing a particular sentential form using this particular production S dash giving S, it means that you have reached the end of the parsing process, and that means you can finally declare that the input string is valid. That is the use of this particular production rule. And canonical collection is nothing but you collect the LR0 items, you collect the LR0 item sets, which is known as canonical collection, and this canonical collection will form this LR0 item sets will form, as I told earlier, the LR0 item will be grouped together to form configuration sets, which will form the states, right? This collection of configuration sets, this collection of item sets is what you call as canonical collection. Okay? The collection of configuration sets is what you call as canonical collection. And to construct the canonical collection, we require the augmented grammar and also the help of two functions, closure and goto. So we'll start with the canonical collection construction next class. You will be given the augmented grammar and we will be using two functions, closure and goto, to construct the canonical collection, which we will discuss in the upcoming session. Thank you. I think we can move to the question and answer session.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, actually, we've got two questions, but two important questions actually. The first one is, one student has asked whether CLR is more powerful than the SLR or the LALR. CLR parser SLR അല്ലെങ്കിൽ LALR parser powerful ആണോ? Then why is it so?
Okay, so can I answer that now?
Sure, sir. Please.
Okay. So it turns out that among the three parsers, the CLR parsers or CLR method is the most powerful technique. Why it is called so is because it will be able to parse much more number of grammars compared to the other two techniques. Okay? CLR parser is the most powerful technique among all the LR parsing techniques because it will be able to parse more number of grammars, much more number of grammars, a large number of grammars when you compare with the other two techniques. But it comes with a price. The price is that the CLR parser is very expensive to construct. It will be having thousands of states in the CFSM constructed. So practically we will move to LALR, which is somewhat an intermediate between SLR and LAR. Among the three methods, SLR is the weakest one. Then you have LALR. Then you have the CLR. This is the increasing order of power. ആദ്യം SLR വീക്കസ്റ്റ് ആണ്, പിന്നെ വരുന്നത് LALR ഇന്റർമീഡിയറ്റ് ആണ്, പിന്നെ വരുന്നത് CLR വിച്ച് ഈസ് ദ മോസ്റ്റ് പവർഫുൾ. അപ്പോൾ എല്ലാം പവർഫുൾ ആയതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ അത് കോംപ്ലക്സ് ആയിരിക്കും. അത്രയും കോംപ്ലക്സിറ്റി ആവശ്യമില്ലാത്ത സ്ഥലങ്ങളിൽ വി വിൽ ഗോ ഫോർ LALR വിച്ച് ഇസ് സം സോർട്ട് ഓഫ് ട്രേഡ് ഓഫ് ബിറ്റ്വീൻ ദ SLR ആൻഡ് CLR.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Next question എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് is every SLR grammar unambiguous? എല്ലാ SLR ഗ്രാമറിനും is it just a single interpretation available for all SLR grammar?
ഇല്ല, ആവണമെന്നില്ല. That is where we will actually
so it can be ambiguous as
ചില കേസസിൽ need not be പറഞ്ഞ അതുകൊണ്ടാണ്. That is where we may be able to introduce the concept of look-aheads. That concept of look-ahead will be introduced in the next class. So then the question will be the solution to this question will be more clear in the next class.
Okay, sir. Understood. Sir, പിന്നെ ഒരാൾ ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്, ജോസഫ് എന്നൊരു സ്റ്റുഡന്റ് ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്, ഒന്നും കൂടെ augmented ഗ്രാമറിനെ കുറിച്ച് ഒന്നും കൂടെ ജസ്റ്റ് പെട്ടെന്ന് പറയാമോ എന്ന് ചോദിക്കും.
Okay. So you have time, shall I?
Yes, sir. കുഴപ്പമില്ല, ഒരു 5 minutes എന്തായാലും ഉണ്ട്.
മതി. 5 minutes ആവശ്യം മതി. It is more than enough.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So I will start. So as I told earlier, the LR0 items can be grouped to configuration sets. This configuration set will become the states of the CFSM. So as a finite state machine, you should have a start state. So which state or which configuration set should be made the start state? അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് the configuration set should be made the start state which will correspond to the initial state of the parser. പാർസറിന്റെ ഇനിഷ്യൽ സ്റ്റേറ്റിന് കറസ്പോണ്ടിങ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള കോൺഫിഗറേഷൻ സെറ്റ് ആയിരിക്കണം സ്റ്റാർട്ട് സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ആക്കേണ്ടത്. വാട്ട് ഇസ് ഇനിഷ്യൽ സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ഓഫ് ദ പാർസർ? സ്റ്റാക്ക് എംപ്റ്റി ആണ്, നമ്മൾ തുടങ്ങാൻ പോകുന്നതേ ഉള്ളൂ പാർസിംഗ് പ്രോസസ്. സോ എന്താണ്, വി ആർ ജസ്റ്റ് ഗോയിങ് ടു റെക്കഗ്നൈസ് എ സ്ട്രിംഗ് ഡെറിവബിൾ ഫ്രം യെസ്. സോ വി ആർ ജസ്റ്റ് അബൌട്ട് ടു സ്റ്റാർട്ട് വിത്ത് ദ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് സിംബൽ യെസ്. ദാറ്റ് മീൻസ് വാട്ട്? You are going to consider items of the form s gives dot alpha. Okay. Why you concentrate on this form? Because dot alpha means what? You are just dot is at the left hand side means you are going to read a string derivable from alpha. Now what is s start symbol? So any string is valid if it is derivable from the start symbol. So if you are able to derive something from start symbol, it is valid, right? So this could be taken as the initial state because you are going to you have the dot at the left end. So you are just going to read a string derivable from alpha. Okay? So if it is successful, you can say that the string is valid. So ഈ ഒരു ഫോമിലുള്ള ഐറ്റംസ് ഉള്ള ഐറ്റം സെറ്റിനെ ആയിരിക്കും സ്റ്റാർട്ട് സെറ്റ് ആക്കേണ്ടത്. പക്ഷേ പ്രശ്നം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ യു ക്യാൻ ഹാവ് മൾട്ടിപ്പിൾ പ്രൊഡക്ഷൻസ് ഓഫ് ദിസ് ഫോം. നേരത്തെ കണ്ടതാണ് ഇ ഗിവ്സ് ഇ പ്ലസ് ഇ പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ? ആ ഐറ്റം നോക്കുമ്പോൾ ഇ ഗിവ്സ് ഡോട്ട് ഇ പ്ലസ് ഇ വരും. സിമിലർലി ഇ ഗിവ്സ് ഇ സ്റ്റാർ ഇ കണ്ടു. അപ്പോൾ അതിന്റെ ഐറ്റം എങ്ങനെ ആയിരിക്കും? ഇ ഗിവ്സ് ഡോട്ട് ഇ സ്റ്റാർ ഇ വന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ഇ ഗിവ്സ് ഡോട്ട് ഇ പ്ലസ് ഇ വന്നു, ഇ ഗിവ്സ് ഡോട്ട് ഇ സ്റ്റാർ ഇ വന്നു. സോ യു ഹാവ് മൾട്ടിപ്പിൾ പ്രൊഡക്ഷൻസ് ഓഫ് ദ ഫോം ഡോട്ട് ആൽഫ, എസ് ഗിവ്സ് ഡോട്ട് ആൽഫ. അപ്പൊ ഇങ്ങനെ മൾട്ടിപ്പിൾ ചോയ്സ് വരുമ്പോൾ ഏതാണ് ഞാൻ ചൂസ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്? അതൊരു പ്രശ്നമാണ്. അവിടെ ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു കൺഫ്യൂഷൻ വരും. അതിനുവേണ്ടിയാണ് നമ്മൾ ഓഗ്മെന്റ് ഗ്രാമറിലേക്ക് പോകുന്നത്. എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ന്യൂ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് സിമ്പിൾ ആയിരിക്കും. അത് മാത്രമല്ല യു ഓൾസോ ന്യൂ പ്രൊഡക്ഷൻ പ്രൊഡക്ഷൻ എസ് ഡാഷ് ഗിവിംഗ് യെസ്. യെസ് ആണ് നിങ്ങളുടെ ഒറിജിനൽ സിമ്പിൾ. ഗ്രാമറിലെ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് സിമ്പിൾ എസ് ഡാഷ് ഗ്രാമറിലെ and then അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഐറ്റം മാത്രമേ ഉണ്ടാവുള്ളൂ. അങ്ങനെ ഐറ്റം ഉള്ള ഒരു ഐറ്റം സെറ്റിനെ പിടിച്ച് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ആക്കുക, ഇനിഷ്യൽ സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ആക്കുക. Hope that makes clear.
ഓക്കെ സർ, താങ്ക് യു സർ. സർ ജസ്റ്റ് ഇപ്പോൾ ഒരു KTUവിന്റെ ഒരു ഭാഗത്ത് നിന്ന്, അതായത് KTUവിന്റെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ പേപ്പറിന്റെ ഭാഗത്ത് നിന്ന് ചോദിക്കുന്ന രീതിയിലാണ് ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ വന്നിരിക്കുന്നത്. അതായത് ഇപ്പൊ നോർമലി നമ്മുടെ ഈ പറയുന്ന 3 ടൈപ്പ് ഓഫ് പാസേഴ്സിന്റെ ഒരു ഡിഫറൻസ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു കമ്പാരിസൺ ചോദിക്കാറുണ്ടായിരിക്കുമല്ലോ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസിൽ എക്സാമിനേഷൻ പോയിന്റ്. അതിനൊരു സ്ട്രിക്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ആയിട്ട് പറയുവാണെങ്കിൽ സർ ഇമ്പോർട്ടന്റ് ആയിട്ട് ഏതൊക്കെ പാരാമീറ്റേഴ്സ് ആണ് ഇവരവിടെ ലിസ്റ്റ് ഡൗൺ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് ഒരു കമ്പാരിസൺ ആയിട്ട്?
Actually, I am planning to take that in the upcoming sessions. കാരണം നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ SLR തുടങ്ങിയിട്ടേ ഉള്ളൂ. SLR-ഉം CLR-ഉം LAR-ഉം കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആയ ശേഷം we will have that comparison table. എന്നാലും നമുക്ക് കുറച്ച് മനസ്സിലാവുള്ളൂ, പിന്നെ പറഞ്ഞാൽ മനസ്സിലാവില്ല.
ഓക്കെ, ഷുവർ സർ. അപ്പോൾ അപ്കമിംഗ് സെഷനിൽ അത് വരുന്നതായിരിക്കും. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പോൾ
don't worry, I will include that comparison table in the presentation. Don't worry.
ഓക്കെ, താങ്ക് യു സർ. ആൻഡ് ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ കൂടെ ഉണ്ട്. അതായത് ഇപ്പൊ ഇന്ന് എടുത്ത സെഷനിൽ അത് LR ടേബിളിനെ എങ്ങനെയാണ് കൺസ്ട്രക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നുള്ള ഒരു ബേസിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഡൗട്ടാണ് ചോദിക്കുന്നത് സർ. അത് എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ LR ടേബിൾ സർ, LR ടേബിൾ കൺസ്ട്രക്ട് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് ബേസിക് ആയിട്ട് ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് പറയാമോ എന്നാണ് ചോദിക്കുന്നത് സർ.
അതാ പറഞ്ഞത്. ജസ്റ്റ് ഒരു മിനിറ്റ് മതി. സോ LR ടേബിൾ കൺസ്ട്രക്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ, അതാ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്, LR ടേബിൾ കൺസ്ട്രക്ട് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് നമുക്ക് 3 മെത്തേഡ്സ് ഉള്ളൂ. LR ടേബിൾ കൺസ്ട്രക്ട് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് SLR, CLR ആൻഡ് LALR. അതിന്റെ ബേസിക്സ് ആണ് ഞാൻ ഇന്ന് പറഞ്ഞത്. അതായത് ഈ 3 മെത്തേഡ് ഡിഫറെന്റ് ആണെങ്കിൽ പോലും അതിന്റെ ഒരു ഓവറോൾ പ്രോസസ്സ് 3 സ്റ്റെപ്സ് ആണുള്ളത്. ആ 3 സ്റ്റെപ്പാണ് ഇന്ന് കണ്ടത്. അപ്പോൾ ഓരോ സ്റ്റെപ്പിലും കുറച്ച് ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് ഉണ്ടാവും. ആ ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് വേരി ആവുന്നതനുസരിച്ച് മെത്തേഡ് മാറിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ എവിടെയാ വേരി ചെയ്യേണ്ടതെന്നുള്ളത് നമ്മൾ ആ മെത്തേഡ് പഠിക്കുമ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവും. നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന് ജസ്റ്റ് ആ 3 മെത്തേഡ്സിന്റെയും ഒരു സ്കെൽറ്റൽ സ്ട്രക്ചർ എന്ന് കണ്ടത്, ആ 3 സ്റ്റെപ്സ് നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന് കണ്ടത്. നെക്സ്റ്റ് ക്ലാസ് ഓൺവേർഡ്സ് വി വിൽ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് വിത്ത് SLR പാർസിംഗ്. നമ്മൾ ആദ്യം SLR പാർസിംഗ് നോക്കും, എന്നിട്ട് വി വിൽ മൂവ് ടു CLR പാർസിംഗ്, ദെൻ വി വിൽ മൂവ് ടു LALR പാർസിംഗ്. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ദ വേ വി ഡു യൂഷ്വലി.
ഓക്കെ സർ, താങ്ക് യു സർ. സർ ആക്ച്വലി ഇന്നത്തെ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് ഉള്ളത് വളരെ കോംപ്ലിക്കേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ടോപ്പിക് ആയിട്ടാണ് എല്ലാവരും വെയിറ്റ് ചെയ്യുവാണ് ആക്ച്വലി.
Even this LR parsing as a whole കുറച്ച് കോംപ്ലിക്കേറ്റഡ് ആണ്. അത് മാത്രമല്ല, ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് വെരി 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 ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് ഫ്രം ദ എക്സാം പെർസ്പെക്റ്റീവ് ഓൾസോ. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇത് ഒരിക്കലും എനിക്ക് റഷ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ ആക്ച്വലി കുറച്ച് പതുക്കെ പോകുന്നതും അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെയാണ്. കാരണം വൺസ് റഷ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ അവർക്ക് കണ്ടിന്യൂറ്റി കിട്ടത്തില്ല. കാരണം ഒരു പോയിന്റ് മിസ്സായി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ ബാക്കിയുള്ള എല്ലാ സെഷൻസും ഇറ്റ് വിൽ ബി ജസ്റ്റ് ഫ്യൂട്ടൈൽ. അത് ഇരുന്നിട്ട് കാര്യമില്ലാത്തൊരു അവസ്ഥയായി പോകും. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ കുറച്ച് അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെയാണ്. കാരണം വൺസ് ഒരു ഫൗണ്ടേഷൻ സ്ട്രോങ് ആയി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ then it will be easy for them to catch up later. So I have made sure that I have gone a bit slower. Maybe next class onwards we'll pick up, because by today's session we have finished building the concept, the foundations for the table construction. Next class onwards we'll move to the real construction process.
Definitely sir. I guess all the students should then be looking forward to the next session as well. And for some students who asked where you can see the videos, we will soon be uploading the videos of previous session as well as this session on our YouTube channel. So it's Skill Park ASAP Kerala. So we'll be uploading the videos soon. You can have a look out there as well. Sir, regarding today's session, I guess our time is come to an end. So thank you so much for spending your time with us, sir, as usual.
Okay.
As always, the session was really good and we have received a lot of really good feedbacks via the chat window as well. So thank you so much, Narsim sir, for your time.
Thank you.
And also, thank you to all the participants. And we look forward to seeing you in the next sessions as well.